fiercely private. So, superhero names. Okay. So with our powers combined, we are the writing partnership of L. Skyford. Welcome to Booklandia. Here, we're going to geek out about literary topics. I won't say only because who knows what'll happen. We could geek out about other things. But we're going to talk our reading lists. We could bring up our old school classics. We could be dog bombed right in the middle of this right now. That's what's happening. Oh, here she comes. Oh, kisses.
There we go. Right. There's the dog bomb. Now we've taken care of that too. Right on cue.
More kisses. Right on cue. She's very hungry for breakfast and she's going to be sorely disappointed. All right, we're going to talk tropes and character types. We're just going to talk all the things. We're going to stay in the romance genre today. So, get comfortable in that headspace. You can follow us on Twitter at SkyfordL, on Instagram at l.skyford. And if you're interested in our book, head on over to the website lskyford.com. No dot, so just lskyford. Plus, if you want to watch our faces do this episode, follow us on Twitch at lskyford. Again, no dot. Or over at YouTube at l.skyford. So dot to dot or not to dot is the question.
I made it super easy for us when I was setting up for all of these accounts.
You sure did.
I tried.
Oh my goodness. Apparently our co-anchor is going to be Beckett. She is here with opinions. So many opinions. All right.
That works out just as well. All right. So firstly, this and every episode is going to be chock full of oversharing and spoilers for the books we're discussing. Today, we're going to talk not about one, but two different books. So for the first half of the episode, we're going to talk about Wrong Guy, Right Room by Michelle Angelle. And for the second half of the episode, we are going to talk about Mangoes and Mistletoe by Adriana Herrerra. But first,
shall we check in?
Please.
Was that the smoothest transition we've done? Maybe not.
It works out. I imagine. So tell me why your transitions aren't so smooth today, because I feel like that's the story here, right?
I mean, this whole week has been like one shitstorm after another. Like, we're finding out friends are sick. Like major breakup drama within our friend group. I also feel like I'm on the verge of having a fight with my spouse about whether or not when to fill up the gas tanks in the car. So recently we started sharing cars. He gets better gas mileage and I'm doing more driving because I have a seasonal job. And each time he's gotten in the car this week, he's had to fill up gas. And that just irked him this week, which is fine. It's allowed. He fills up when it's at a quarter tank. And I fill up when the gas tank light comes on. And so now we're having to like navigate around this. And we started having the conversation this morning. And my argument was, I'm doing a lot of changing right now. There have been some other things that have irked him during quarantine that I'm working really hard on. This is just me. You're asking me to undo 15 years of habit. So how about we just go back to driving our separate cars, because that's the easiest option. So we're right in the middle of the conversation where I've said my thing. And, I also was probably very unfair. And I said, I'm the one doing all the changing right now, which is very unfair to him. But that's how I feel. And I'm starting to embrace my feelings instead of letting my robot brain make all the decisions. So it's, he's thinking about the things I've said. So part 2 of this conversation is forthcoming, and I feel it illuminating me. And by that, I mean A, and then looming and mating me.
That is well done on the alliteration. I don't know if you know how much I love alliteration, so this works out really well.
So good.
In your club of people who wait until their light comes on before filling their tank.
Whoop, whoop. I'm not alone. alone.
My spouse is of the wait until the car tells you that it's at 0 miles to empty and then fill up. So I imagine that I would be on the other side of the conversation you're currently having, but I've never really been bothered. I do get frustrated if I am driving that car and it has 0 miles to the gas tank. Luckily, we live in an urban enough environment where gas stations are very close by.
It's true, and I get that frustration. Like you have a whole plan of your day, or maybe you have a schedule or whatever, and then you also have to stop at the gas station, which I feel like the gas station is like the COVID percolator. Like nobody's sanitizing those gas tank handles. I always forget to wear a mask when I get out of the car, and then I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go get my mask. Like I feel like that gives me the heebie-jeebies is filling up the tank of gas. So I get it. I 1000% get it. I don't. I'm at a loss of what to do. So, if let us know. Do you wait till the gas tank light comes on? Do you always keep it full? Do you wait till you're at 0 miles? Let us know. Cause are you a Ford? Are you a Sky? Let us know. Or
There
are
we
you our
go.
spouses?
Or are you our spouses with their decision-making processes? I think
Absolutely.
not to make the transition clunky, but saying this makes the transition clunky. So I've already, when we get to the episode where we talk about ourselves, this will be revealed. I am an extremely blunt person, and I just say what it is that is happening next or what it is that I need. So no one who prefers sugarcoating is really a person that I have ever been successfully involved with for a long time. But so my point is that this conversation about gas tanks and spouses is now very awkward transition to to the fact that we're talking about romance, and there is very little romance that addresses the little things that I have read. It's always like grand gestures, big things, massive declarations of love, like John Cusack with the boombox.
Huge life changes.
Huge life changes. There is very little about who filled up the gas tank, but I feel like there's a niche for that. Like we might be onto something here.
Well, in our book that we're trying to get out there, a fight about the shoes in the hallway, which is a real fight I've had.
It is definitely a fight I've had about the shoes in the hallway and whether or not one put the shoes away or not.
I had 4 pairs of shoes out beside the shoe bench yesterday, and I go, oh, I better put these away or I'm going to get in trouble. So I was like, blink.
See,
I slid 3 pairs in and left 1 pair on the floor.
Put away shoes is it's a super nice thing that no one really thinks about, but it's such a it's just tiny acts of consideration. Truly, right? It does not have to be about shoes. It's about the fact that you consider that the other person in your life or other people in your life might trip on your shoes.
Sure, or hate to see them strewn about in front of the door when they come home. For me, I think the big thing is I'm an only child, so I'm having to learn to be considerate as an adult, which is super weird. I feel like I should have learned this already. Why am I learning this now?
I did have a lot of rules based on my behaviors being mimicked by my younger sibling. Yes. So there was a lot of, you should do this because if you do this properly, then your sibling will follow suit. So yeah, I do think there is something to that.
Yeah. And also not being a parent. Like there's no one looking up to me. So in your sibling life, but also in your parent life, there's no one watching me except for my spouse, who I consider my equal. And so it's a whole...
That too, yeah. If I want my kids to put away their shoes, I have to put away mine.
If you want your kids to fill up the gas tank, you gotta
eventually. I have to show them how. They are all in on the gas tank. They want to. They would prefer.
They're very car centric, so that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, we're considering where we live. All right. Should we
Sure.
talk a little bit about drinking? Our logo
Always.
promises that we are with wine, but what I've realized is setting our recording timetable to 10 a.m. really messes with my drinking, and I am not so comfortable with that.
I completely understand. I appreciate you doing this. For our listeners out there, I have a seasonal job, which I will talk about later in the episode, where I work an evening shift. So we've been forced to record in the mornings instead of at night. So I appreciate your not drinking. I won't be drinking since I'm going to work, but I was thinking about what drink would go well with Wrong Guy, Right Room. A little bit about the book is that the two main characters are locked in a hotel room together. So that's all I will say for this drinking section. My my book related drink, anything in a tiny bottle. That's my pitch. Drink your minibar steals from airports or whatever you've tucked away in the back of your alcohol cabinet, and just start sipping. Crack those open.
Very nice. Well, my drink for mangoes and mistletoe is something that, so I did not know about this drink. This is entirely not part of my culture, but I'm excited to try it because it sounds like a drink I would enjoy. And I'm gonna put it out there now. All conversations in the second half of this episode about this book will also mean that I will be destroying parts of Hispanic culture because I cannot pronounce the words. They're so solidly not part of my vocabulary. And so I apologize in advance for all terrible mispronunciations. I think the drink is called...
I will do my best to correct you. And
okay, good.
I will also do my best for my dog not to drop her bone right beside me for the rest of the episode.
That's awesome. So I think the drink is called Coquito. And it is right. So it's coconut milk, coconut cream, rum, and cinnamon. Now, I'm not a huge fan of sugary drinks, so for me this would have a lot of cinnamon and maybe some nutmeg too. So basically it's like a non-dairy eggnog is what I understand of it, and I actually have all of the ingredients and I was gonna make it. Well done, Beckett. She would like to try some dog with drink.
Yeah. Dog with drink, dog with bone will podcast.
Excellent. So I feel like this is a drink I would enjoy. I was fully prepared to make this drink and to try this drink, but again, 10 a.m. So instead, I made Mexican hot chocolate because that is also in the book, and it's delicious and it's spicy and it's a thing that is for me better than the super sweet hot chocolate.
Coco Caliente Chocolate, something like that is what it's called.
Oh, okay.
Can't remember.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In the book, they call it a Mexican hot chocolate, so I actually didn't look up the Spanish word for it. But it's delicious and is like the sweetest thing I can handle. After that, it's all downhill. Yeah, because no sweet drinks for me. It's cloying. It's a thing. So I like spicy things. And so this was all perfect in terms of heat for my drink choices. So that is what I would have to say. And then in terms of food, Mangoes and Mistletoe is about a cooking competition. So it's literally a novella about food. So I might have gained 5 pounds just reading this book. Just by osmosis, they just arrived. So that's
I love it.
It's delicious. I want all the cakes. I want to try all of them. And there's a lot of conversation about passion fruit and guava, which are currently not an option because it's winter time, but I'm into it. I'm very much into it. So those are my food and drink things.
Yeah, if I had to pick a food for Wrong Guy, Right Room, they do have, they get some room service. They get bad room service, which is pimento cheese sandwiches. They get great room service, which is eggplant parmesan. So If you're a person who's into eggplant parmesan, that would be my recommendation.
I have very strong feelings about eggplant parmesan, but we don't have to get into that.
What's the elevator pitch? I'm interested now.
Okay, so the elevator, I know, I'm sorry, I've hooked you. So the elevator pitch on eggplant parmesan for me is I don't eat meat. And so in the time when I was going to a lot of friend weddings, which has sort of subsided now, but there was a lot of friend weddings for like a 5-year period. And the vegetarian option at every single one of those was eggplant parmesan, because that's like, everyone thinks that that's the greatest plan. And though I agree with that plan, once, I start to disagree with that plan when I've had it 10 times, right? Like when every reception I arrive at, it's like the rubber chicken, but for vegetarians.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, wedding food is a whole thing we could probably talk a whole episode about.
That's true. That's true. Not about these books though, because I feel like the wedding food conversation should be about Christina Lauren's on Honeymooners, because that one deals with wedding food and what happens when you don't plan it well.
Yes. Let's dig into the books, by the way. Another awkward segue. This is the episode of awkward segues.
The episode of awkward segues. Okay, so this is Wrong Guy, Right Room by Michelle Angelle. This is the book that you're going to talk about so that I can talk about the other one and not monopolize this episode.
No, it's all good. So, we diverged reading paths this week, which I think happens, I don't know, once every other week, once a month, something like that. It's happened more and more lately since we're now almost a year into Stress Relief Book Club and quarantine life. So Michelle and Angelle reached out to us. They asked us to review their book, and happy to do so. It's so exciting to be reached out to by an author to do this. They published this book in August of this month, so already into quarantine, which
August of this year.
Sorry, August of this year. What are words?
What are words?
I need better words. In 2021, I would like better words. So August 2020, middle of quarantine, pandemic. I think, so most importantly, where can you get this book? If you are like, yes, I need to read this, I'm going to first direct you to their website, which is michelleangelebooks.com. So MichelleAngelebooks.com. And the reason I'm directing you to their website first is I've heard that if you buy through an author's website, they get a little bit more kickback than if you buy directly from like Barnes & Noble or the major booksellers. I will also always tell you to support your indie booksellers, but let's support these authors because they are self-publishing their work. When you go to their website, it will direct you to Amazon because that is where their book is on offer, but I hope they get a bigger kickback. And they're going to get some foot traffic through the website. Whoop, whoop. So Amazon, that's where you're going to get it. And it is not a series. It's a standalone. And this is their first book. So I'm super excited for them because they're in a very similar place to us in that debut writers and a writing partnership, which I also think is very much us. So the elevator pitch for this book is an elevator paragraph. It's a very tall building. So let's get into it. So it's the eve before Katie's rehearsal dinner, and she confesses to her drag queen brother, who is also her fraternal twin. They don't look alike. Fraternal twin. That she and her fiance, Neil, have not had sex, and they are waiting for the wedding night. As brothers are wont to do, he convinces her to seduce Neil just to be sure he doesn't have a weird penis or they don't have any weird sexual chemistry. Like, the chemistry is good. So she sneaks into his hotel room where he's staying for the wedding weekend, and finds herself kissing her college ex-boyfriend Luke, who has taken the room for the night from Neil. He's taken the room because Neil is out hooking up with his. He's a plastic surgeon, and he's out hooking up with his Barbie doll nurses. So Neil's a player. We don't like Neil. He's unfaithful to Katie. Luke and Neil know each other through doctor work. There's more. It's better, but it's a good detail. But doctor work is all you need to know at this point. So while Katie is there, the hotel gets closed down by the CDC for a potential outbreak of some kind. And Katie has to get all of the people in her life who aren't locked down in this hotel to help cover for her. And while she's there, figure out what happened between her and Luke in college, and if she's going to stay in this, if this wedding is going to go on. And scene.
That is a long elevator.
It's a very tall building.
All right, so romance, obviously.
Definitely romance. Yep, rom-commy. It's definitely, there's hijinks afoot. It's, all the friends outside the building are navigating around Neil and keeping the secret that Katie is locked in the hotel with some other man, on the DL.
So Neil comes back, and is Neil part of the people in the hotel, or is he elsewhere?
He's outside the hotel because he was out hooking up with bimbos. So he is the one we're keeping all the secrets from. So we have Katie, who is the bride, and we have Luke, who is the ex. So this is obviously a second chance romance. Neil is the fiance, who is the D-bag. We're not into him. So Noah is Katie's fraternal twin, the drag queen, and his boyfriend, Adam, who is also a drag queen. They're delightful. They are the comic relief of this book. There's a dance number. They perform, and it's amazing. There's also Mia, who is Luke's sister, and Emil, who is the concierge at the hotel. He's kind of like the what is it called? Fairy godmother for Katie and Luke. He sees everything. He's trying to orchestrate getting them back together. He's rooting for them. He's he gives them the romantic eggplant parmesan dinner.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. So Adam and Noah and Mia are out there in the real world trying to keep Neil from finding out that Katie is locked in the hotel room. So they put up a plot that she got food poisoning or she's sick. So that's why she's not going to their rehearsal dinner. Adam and Noah are staying at the house she and Neil will be moving in together into to be like, oh, she's asleep right now, door barring, not letting him in. So, and everybody's texting each other and calling each other cover for me. So yeah, that's the basic, deal of the book. It's got some tropes. I also
tell me about them.
I may have gone online to look up, a complete list of tropes and been like, oh, there's a few more than even I caught on. Since Katie and Luke are locked in this hotel room, only one bed. Definitely only one bed. And I mentioned that it's a second chance romance because they dated in college. We use this trope a lot, or we refer to this trope a lot. The pesky sibling, the sibling who is helpful in cute, harmful ways. They just want to help, but man, they're gonna put you through it. Forced proximity, because Luke and Katie are locked in the room. The CDC, and we shake our fists. Everyone can see it. So everyone can see that Katie and Luke are supposed to be together. They're the last to know. Everyone's in denial. Like, that string of tropes is strong. The force is strong here in this book. And then just dealing with scars from the past, the reason that Katie and Luke broke up in the first place, and them navigating past all that. I liked the tropes in the book. They were done very straightforward. They were very clean, and they were all done with reason. So nothing was like forced in. Nothing was like off the beaten path. Everything was very like straightforward in the tropes department.
Are we not doing phrasing anymore?
I mean,
nothing was
what's
forced in.
the right? Nothing was forced in. Everything was consensual.
Okay, very
consensual
good.
Tropes here.
I like that a lot. Consensual tropes. Very nice.
Only consensual tropes. So yeah. So that's the overview, everyone. That was just the overview. Let's get into what I liked. Pros and cons on the book.
Yes, please.
Do you want to start pros? Do you want to start cons? I'm gonna let listeners' choice.
Oh boy. Pros, please.
Great. So all of the characters in this book were people, except for Neil, were people I would be friends with. They were all very real, grounded people. Relatable humans. Who doesn't want two drag queens as their friends? If that's not you, I'm sorry. Drag queens are amazing.
I second that entirely, having those friends in my life already. They are amazing.
They're incredible. I loved Emile, the concierge, the deus ex machina fairy godmother of the book. He's French, so you're reading a French accent, which is...
I'm sort of imagining the Gilmore Girls concierge.
That is perfect. I didn't know who I was picturing, but that's the... Yes. You are dead on. You're
okay,
dead on.
Very good. I wonder if that was the inspiration. He is my favorite with his deadpan deliveries, but I wonder if that's what it was.
Yeah, Emile is not quite snarky, but he's very, like, he sees everything, and he's very, like, kind-hearted, open-hearted. He's like, I'm so sorry, you know, like, oh, I must have misunderstood. He has that very, like, genuine care about him.
That I would not say the same.
Happen.
I would not say the same of the character in Gilmore Girls.
True, but, like, the French accent... I also did picture him as being a person of color, so that feels right on. Let's see. Oh, I learned things in this book. I always love learning like a tidbit. So I learned that lobsters mate for life, which I'm very happy I don't eat lobster because that would make me very sad. I was like, what other animals mate for life? Penguins. Okay, we don't eat penguins.
Wolves.
Wolves. We don't eat wolves. So, like, lobsters mate for life. You're eating someone's soulmate, and that got me a little depressed.
Well, you're preaching to the not eating lobster crowd, so it's totally fine. But You're My Lobster is from something. It's a reference. Maybe
is it?
Friends? Yes. Yes. Oh, now there's going to be like letters telling me who it's really from. But yes, You're My Lobster is a reference. Someone knows this reference. I will Google it and figure it out. But yes, lobsters made for life. It's a little depressing if you accidentally eat someone's soulmate. Agreed.
Yeah. Please don't eat someone's soulmate. Also, my dog just farted, and it smells like Yellowstone National Park right now. Oh my goodness. Okay, the other thing I learned is, and tell me if you know this Hebrew word, ahuva?
I don't. I saw it. I saw it in your notes, so I
Yeah.
really want to know. This also tells you how extremely Hebrew knowledgeable I am. So please fill me in.
So it means like darling one, dear one. I can't remember exactly how they defined it in the book, but like the person I care for. That's what ahuva means. So I thought that was kind of cool. Um, Again, like I think my favorite part is watching all of the side characters dance around um, the issue hiding from Neil that Katie is locked in this room. And literally there's a dance scene. So much dancing is in this book. It's delightful. Um, Also, it's not only a dual POV, so it's not only Luke and Katie's points of view, but it's also Noah and Mia's point of view because they're the ones outside of the room. So we get to see the rehearsal dinner from Noah and Mia's point of view, and we get to see Noah like hiding, shooing Neil away because Katie is quote unquote asleep and she's not feeling well. So like you get all the outside. It's great. It's delightful, which I've just never read before.
Nice. So I did look it up, hence
Okay.
the clicking and the typing. It is from Friends. You Are My Lobster is from Friends.
Well,
So there you go.
the more you know, rainbow.
Rainbow. I do not have a rainbow graphic. You don't get a rainbow graphic today. I'll work on it.
I mean, a rainbow graphic might be fun at some point. Okay, so let's slide over to cons.
Please.
Very early on in the book, there's some like changing between first point of view and third point of view. It's only in the first couple of chapters, and so that was just a little jarring as the first like introduction into the book. Maybe there's one too many plot twists. Like so much happens, so many things happen in this book. It's chock full, and once we got to the end, I'm just like, what exactly is the black moment? And then it twists again, and I'm like, I'm having plot twist like fatigue by the end of it. So like maybe one too many plot twists. Though they all make sense. They're all like, it's just whew. What else? They do use words like heiny and wanker. So, if you prefer your anatomy to be cock and ass, this is not that book. This is a heiny wanker book, not a cock ass book.
If that's not on a t-shirt, I don't know what.
I mean, I may be writing it down right now. So there's that. Let's see.
Tell me about your favorite moment. Oh, wait, sorry. Do you?
I had one more con. It's about Luke's character arc. It's kind of like his biggest problem is that he has to keep the secret that Neil is cheating on Katie. But otherwise, like, his problem is he was dumped by Katie so many years ago. Like, there's not a lot of arc for him there. He just has to like lie to this woman that he still loves and pines for. So those are my cons. But as I mentioned, my favorite part is everyone dancing and a literal dance scene. Noah and Adam do single ladies at the rehearsal dinner, like surprise everyone in the unitards, the black leotards. Somehow a stage magically appears in the middle of the room for them to dance on. It's everything. If your book doesn't have a drag queen dance number, I don't want to read it.
Well, that's really going to limit your reading material, I think, for now, until people really get onto this train with you.
Yeah.
So with all of because I feel like an interrupted wedding is a trope that isn't on your list, but it is definitely like a romance book adventure where someone famously interrupts does anyone object to this union, or someone runs off from the altar. This
Runaway
isn't
bride.
right. Runaway bride. I mean, Four Weddings and a Funeral, Runaway Bride, and this is just movies, right? The books
Yeah.
on this subject are so much bigger. The pile of books on this genre are so much bigger. So I always wonder, particularly when the entire thing sort of resolves in the few days around the wedding, rather than like in Four Weddings and a Funeral, it takes some time. But I always wonder what, like, as a person who's gone through several weddings, what it's like to walk out there and be like, people of the world who have traveled here to see me and have eaten the eggplant parmesan. Like, there are certain books that mention, like, and then they just had the party because they already planned the party, and that I sometimes appreciate, because that is a lot. But it would be a huge emotional labor to not go through at least the celebration, the part, like, obviously there are reasons not to proceed with the wedding, particularly if your spouse to be is going to cheat on you, or is currently cheating on you, or being dishonest in a way that you don't feel is appropriate for you to continue. But like that, I always think about the guests in those books. Like, what is it like to be all the other people who don't know the drama, right? Who are just like, they showed up, they made time for it, and what does it do to them? Not that as authors, our storytellers owe us every single story in the room, but I always want that scene where at least a conversation is had with all of the guests. So how is it handled here?
How is it handled here? Let's see. Okay, so they do the rehearsal dinner. We don't see that. We don't see that part. Because we just see Katie tell Neil that she's not marrying him. She leaves. He shows up in his tux and be like, you didn't mean it. Come on, let's go to the wedding. I've got your dress in the car. And she's like, no, fuck off. And then he drives away. Like, sorry, that's the end, everyone. This is why we say spoilers in the beginning. And
if you've gotten 35 minutes into this, then you already know a lot about this book.
Yeah, so here's the end. So yeah, we don't see it. It's, Neil's the D-bag, and he's the one who also planned the wedding. It's the wedding he wanted. It's the wedding his rich parents wanted. It's not even really Katie's wedding. So he gets to go deal with all that. I feel like that's his penance.
Oh, I mean, that's pretty good. That's a lot of people to take on and have to explain things to.
Yeah.
Cool. Tell me the answer to my favorite question that I always ask. How did this book make you want to get naked?
No, it was firm pajamas on always. Fuzzy socks, like the whole 9 yards. It's very cozy. The sex scenes are not explicit, nor are they graphic.
I feel like this is a story we should tell to explain the graphic versus explicit thing, but I'll hold off on it until you finish telling me about the nakedness.
Okay, great. So there's only a couple of sex scenes, and it's, they get started, and then here's how amazing it was. Here's how amazing it feels post-orgasm. Like, stars in our eyes. It feels very, if this was a movie, like hazy arms and legs, out of focus, brief montage, and then, covers pulled up to our necks, and just sweat glistening.
Just after
those were the glossy, sexy times, but like no penetration, penis and vagina sort of explicitness. So I gave it 3 stars, 3 flames, because it does have more than one sex scene. They aren't explicit, so no more than that, but it's more than just like hand holding and eye lingering and eye lingering.
I don't know what eye lingering is, but it sounds like a thing I don't want.
No, lingering gazes, I believe is what I meant.
A bunch more
Um,
sense.
yeah, but I also gave it 3 stars overall because it's so comfy, cozy, cuddly. The characters are so real. Um, the dancing around the hijinks made it enjoyable. So all in all, solid read.
Very nice. Okay. I'm so glad that you had a good cozy time with it. That
I
sounds
did, and
lovely.
I'm so happy for Michelle and Angelle and their first published book. Congratulations, y'all! Way to do.
So extremely true on that front. Okay, I'm gonna put up their cover one more time because I feel like
Do it.
you just described it very well, and then I think your like glossy description really matches this cover. Like lots of
Yeah,
limbs and sort of like
in a hotel
hazy
bed.
hotel
Yeah,
bed. Yeah.
yeah.
So very nice on that. All right.
Before we go to break, do you
Yes.
really quickly want to explain explicit versus
I
graphic?
do because it
And
was
then we'll
a
go to break.
thing that like really got to me. So this week I was on Goodreads and I was reading other people's reviews of books that we might potentially be reading. It is something that I love doing on Goodreads. I love other people's reviews and I will poke around in them. And I came across a review that was talking about a book, and it was the author of the review was really angry that there was no warning on the book about how graphic the sex scenes were. And I was very confused about this because it was a review of a romance, and it happens to be a romance that I have. I haven't read it yet, which is why I was on Goodreads. So I found the sex scenes in this book that I haven't read yet, by the way, just the sex scenes. And I
So
read
you don't
the
skip
scene.
to the end; you skip to the sex.
I mean, don't you? I guess it depends. In this particular instance,
No.
I was looking for the sex scene because I needed to know what this graphic content was. Like, what were they like? I was like, I cannot, I mean, I'm sure I can imagine an actually graphic scene, but I would be surprised if that graphic scene was in this romance novel. Those are rare. Those like right, that's the wrong genre for it. So
Right.
I found the sex scene and I read it, and I'm here to tell you that there's a difference between graphic, which is gory and violent, and explicit, which is really elaborately describing the sex act. And this book contains explicit sex scenes, but they are in no way graphic because all of the usual natural fluid exchanges occur, and
Right.
it's missionary with some head and
But wasn't it
some
also virginal? So, like, is there any like hymen bleeding?
there's a moment in which she experiences pain and he is aware of it, but there is not even like an after mention of the blood being present on the sheets in their lives, like none of that. So even that, which would be the most graphic moment of that scene,
Yeah.
not there. So there's a difference between graphic and explicit, and I have been on a tear about it all week long.
It's been a delight to watch the play-by-play from Sky about graphic versus explicit.
I'm
Now
just
you
saying.
know. Next week we'll cover then versus than. And on that moment, let's take a break. When we come back, Sky's going to talk the whole time, and it's going to be about Mangoes and Mistletoe by Adriana Herrera. Did I say her name right?
I don't know if it's Adriana or Adriana, so
Dang
even
it.
her name is going to be incorrectly pronounced because I'm that person. And again,
Yeah.
I apologize in advance. That is a thing I can look up in the break.
Great. So when we come back, you're going to get pronunciations and a whole lot of cute lesbian short story time. Goodbye.
Well, not goodbye. Come back in a few minutes.
Come back in a few minutes. Ahoy, mateys! We're back.
We
All
are
right.
back.
It's time to hear about mangoes and mistletoe from by
I did not find it. I really hope I'm right, but I think it's Adriana versus Adriana.
Okay.
By Adriana
Adriana.
Herrerra.
Great. Amazing. I yield the floor.
Well, thank you. Sorry, I was messing with graphics and it was taking all of my attention. So, this is a novella that by Adriana Herrerra that was originally released last year on December 16th, so right before the holidays. It's a holiday novella. It is self-published and can be found through Adriana Herrera's website. And it is on Amazon, but again, the exact same plug as before. Go to the author's website and order from there because it's better that way. It got republished this holiday season with this cover versus the original cover, which I actually like better. It has two women on it. It's more of a cartoon style cover versus this photo cover, but both are lovely. She has so this is a standalone little novella, tiny lovely world that she creates in this. However, she does have quite a few books published. Some of them are self-published, some of them are published the traditional way. Most notably, she has the Dreamers series, and it is the American Dream, the American Love, the Dream. Oh, now I'm terrible. Okay, look her up on Goodreads. Don't listen to me about what the names of her books are in the series. The idea is that they're all really diverse romance stories in terms of representation that deals with gender and sexual preference and where the characters are from and the color of their skin. So it is extremely diverse. She's fantastic at it. I am gonna gush a bunch about this novella, and then she's definitely become someone that I now need to read a whole lot more books by because I loved the style in which she presented this. The elevator pitch for this. Oh, please go ahead.
I pulled up the Dreamer series. It's American Dreamer, American Fairy Tale, American Love Story, and American Sweethearts. Also, she's really hot.
Yes. Yes to all of that. Yes.
She's beautiful. Okay. All right. Continue.
Yeah, basically that's where I lived for the entire week of reading this book. And by that, I mean, I read the book in 2 sittings and then I just basked in its glory for the rest of the week. So I always write the elevator pitches because I can never be succinct about it if I don't. So this is what I wrote. Great British Bake Off style competition can be the chance Kiskea desperately needs to continue her dream of being a pastry chef in the US. Except she she's paired with Sully, who is hot, Dominican, and so extra. Quisqueya is too stunned to do anything but stare and flop sweat. Will they be the dream team of Dominican divas to get the prize while heating up the bedroom, or will their dreams be lost?
Whew, look, it's got Bake Off vibes. It's got female love vibes. This great elevator pitch. I'm in.
Thank you. So here are some things to know. Quisqueya is actually a reference to an island in the Dominican Republic. I can't even say it in English, let alone in Spanish. And I tried to look up how to say Quisqueya properly, and it's usually spelled with Q's, not K's, the way that her name is. But it means the land of the mother, I believe. And it has specific significance to Quisqueya herself, who struggles a lot with being Dominican and being lesbian and coming to the US partially to escape the culture that isn't really happy for her to be who she truly is. So it is, it's women loving women romance. So it's FF romance. It's baking fiction, which I feel like is its own subgenre, because there's a lot of talk about what they're baking. And it's travel fiction because this bake-off competition happens in Edinburgh. And for those who don't know, Edinburgh is actually Ford's and I must travel destinations that has not happened yet. So just Edinburgh itself, and they go to the Edinburgh Castle. There's a lot of conversation about how green it is everywhere. It's cold. There is like because it's winter time, they're doing this around Christmas, so it's very Christmassy. So there really are not that many characters. It's a novella. It's a pretty tight world. I do, however, feel like all of these characters were supremely three-dimensional, which is something that is sometimes really hard to achieve in a novella. But I really feel like these happen. This novella really gave me three-dimensional characters. So there's Quisqueya, who is Dominican. She's a pastry chef. She lives in California, and she's on a student visa, and her student visa is about to expire. So this competition is also her way of extending her stay in the US and continuing to be a pastry chef, because if she wins the competition, she can apprentice either in LA or in New York as the prize, and that would get her a work visa. So she really needs this. And there's a lot of mentioning about her leaving her family in the DR and her not really having a good relationship with them. So going back home is something that she's really not comfortable with. And so the stakes are really high for her. Sully is the other main character. There's a mention of the fact that there's a way to say her name in Spanish. Again, I have no idea how to do that, but I really want to know the difference between the way I'm saying it and the way it's meant to be said. So I might be asking a person who speaks Spanish a really weird question very soon. So Sully's a home baker from the Bronx. She has an Instagram following. She has a really tight relationship with her mom. She had to put her baking dreams on hold to help her mom recover from an injury. And so she's a little bit back in like a reserved moment for her as in her career, because she's been spending all of this time making sure that her mom is okay. But she is very loud and very proud and very extra, and that is from the book. And she's like very proudly Dominican. She loves the culture. She loves the flavors. She loves her own flavor, if you will. Like, she's really into all of it. And Quisqueya is really not comfortable with so much out there openness, because Quisqueya has had such a difficult relationship with being Dominican. And by comparison, Sally has had such an open and loving one. So they're supposed to be enemies to lovers, but their enemy moment is fairly short. Again, novella style. So there is a little bit of insta love there, but I sort of love it because
Mm-hmm.
Kiskea freezes and starts sweating uncontrollably and can't remember
Mm-hmm.
words, which is legitimately the way that I react to a very beautiful woman. I freeze and I start sweating profusely and I don't do words. So it was like, yeah, this is massively relatable. This is me. I totally get it. And then you probably say something really dumb, and then she says something really dumb, and I'm like, this is exactly how it goes. It has never
Nice.
gone not this way. This is the way. Uh, so I very
This is
much
the way.
appreciate it. That portrayal of like just being stupid struck by someone's beauty. The language in the descriptions of like how it feels to witness this tour de force coming in to her life, to this room, not even knowing that they're going to be paired together. But Kiskea's first glance at Sully is really like the words are just so good. This is my very terrible description of how good the words are. The words are so good.
Oh, the words
Um,
are so good.
the words are so good. So the main storyline here is very simple. When the so then the two of them, the competition is set up that there are home bakers and there are professional pastry chefs, and they are paired up 1-to-1, and each pair then does the competition, and there are multiple pairs, and we meet other characters that are all really delightful as well. The main storyline is win the competition or win the girl, and it does not seem possible. Kiskea
Mm.
doesn't think that her and Sally are going to get paired together since they're both Dominican, and that seems really unlikely. And yet, that is exactly what happens. The other pairings
Hmm.
are there is a set of characters. There are two gay men that are also insta-loved, and I would kind of love to read their storyline, but because it's adorable. But they meet and they immediately are like, we want each other, thank you very much. And it's lovely to see that kind of honesty and it still be light and flirtatious. So the two men get paired. There is another pair that one of them has a disability. We don't really get into a lot of it, but I love that she's still competing and doing really well, and they are a pair. And then the last pair is called the Beccas because there are two Beccas. One is Rebecca with a K and the other one is Rebecca, no, one of them is Rebecca with a C and an H, or one of them is Rebecca with a K and an H, and the other one is Rebecca with a C. They explain it to you. They're called the Beccas, and they are literally the mean girls from Mean Girls. They
Got it.
love their shopping and their hate.
Oh,
And
great. Okay.
they right, and they do all the terrible, horrible things. They're just the mean girls. If there was a burn book, they would have it. So I
Great.
kind of loved it,
Cool.
and that they're the Beccas. It might be a Heather's reference because they're the Beccas.
Mm.
I don't know if it's
Mm-hmm.
referential or not, but I loved it nonetheless. And their vibe, like their evil stepsister vibe, is on from the get go. You're like, yeah, no, not touching that. So that's really fun. You sort of have the bad guy right away, and you sort of
Yeah.
have the love interest right away. They do get off to a rocky start because they do get paired together, and Sully wants everything to be so very Dominican, and
Mm.
Kiskea really wants to be very traditional and very French because she's so set on winning this French pastry competition. There's a lot of conversation about what they're gonna make. All of it sounds extremely delicious
Oh,
and way above my pay grade as a homemaker. So I'm very
yeah.
impressed about that. And then Sully's mom is the mom you want, I assume, in every
Ah.
scenario. She befriends the Kiskea before they're officially an item. She roots for them
Mm.
with her entire soul. And she's just, even in the black moment, she still moms Kiskea. She's
Aw.
still like, you know what, you got this, you guys will sort it out. But she still shows up emotionally, even though she's not there in Edinburgh. She is the mom that will always feed you and will always give you a hug. And like
Right.
she made me really cozy and mildly uncomfortable because they don't do hugging. But she was that mom. Like, I was like, oh, this is so lovely that they have this support system, particularly because part of the thing that they talk about is how this particular culture is not very open to lesbians and lesbian relationships. So to have this mom who just roots
Uh-huh.
for her daughter, and loves her unconditionally and loves her partners unconditionally was just like, that's the height. Like, that's what you want from your parents, right? You want a parent who just shows up, and this mom
Yeah.
shows up, and it was so great to see.
That's
Sorry.
awesome.
Yeah. I like, please stop me mid-sentence because my sentences will be so run on. I had such a great time with this book. It
Yeah.
got into some serious bits. It talked about Dominican culture and their lack of acceptance, and how toxic masculinity really drives that culture, what women are
Yeah.
expected to perform as, that there are instances even where gay men are marginalized but marginally accepted into family life and family culture, to the point where they can even bring their partners to family gatherings, and that seems to be okay. But lesbians are treated even less fairly than gay men by virtue
Um,
of also being women.
yeah.
And that's one of the big struggles for Kiskea, is that she's not yet comfortable in her own skin, because that cultural aspect of it weighs so heavily on her. And one of the things that Sully shows her is that there are Dominicans out there who are very happy to be fully accepting of who they are, and that if you give people a chance and if you live your authentic life, then people will come around, or people that don't come around are like, you sort of have to let them go out of your life, and that it will be sad and you will mourn it, but there's only so much you can do to match people's wrong expectations of what you should be doing with
Yeah.
your life.
I'm not the person to be talking about this, but it makes me wonder about how the increasing prevalence of the moniker Latinx or Latinx, if that, I know that's maybe an American term and phrase, or if it's being filtered into the Latin communities and Latin countries, and how much that might be slowly changing the way those folks see they're marginalized people.
Well, I don't know if this speaks to Adriana Herrera or to her characters, but they do use the term in the book. They talk about
Yeah,
Latinx flavors
yeah.
versus other ways of discussing things. So they do use the term
Mhm.
in the book, but that's a
Yeah.
that's a really good question. I love.
Any
Go ahead.
Latin sociologists out there, just get back
Just
to us
let
and
us
let us
know.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that piece of it was part of the conversation in the 130 odd pages, right? Like, not
right.
only is it lovely and fluffy, and we haven't even gotten to how hot the sex scenes are, it's got all of that, and it has this message in it of like love and support, and not letting historical prejudices get in the way of how lovely people are. Like, I just love that you packed all of that into this tiny tiny novella. And yes, so that I'm gonna stop gushing about
Uh,
that.
but, but like, if you had to pick a favorite part, like the favorite of all the parts that you loved, what would it be?
I know that this is one that we're supposed to prep. Did I even write that down? I
You
don't think
did.
I did.
You've talked about all the parts of it, so
Oh, right, there it goes. Oh, it's the thing that is highlighted. Fantastic. So yeah, so I love that the cultural piece is in there, entwined in, and it doesn't feel stuck on. It doesn't feel like, oh, we should mention this. I I haven't talked about the sex scenes at all. They're very hot,
ooh,
very explicit, lots
ooh,
of everything. I was gonna pinpoint like a thing, but lots of everything. they're dirty, they're needy, they tell each other what they need and want, they literally sit on each other's faces, which I like. There's been a conversation in my life recently because I've read several books and novellas recently that all have one of the female characters or a female character sit on their partner's face, and I was like, sit on their face? Like, that is a move that I have not performed or have made available in my repertoire because it feels dangerous. But I am now like, it's now on my checklist to sit on someone's face.
Sure. I mean, I'd say a lovely reclined position, perhaps some pillows for your knees.
I mean, like, so I have to take that back. Like, this is getting very personal now, but this is a thing that I was thinking about. So, the way, I mean, 69 makes a lot of sense to me, like from a
Sure.
how-to standpoint.
Yeah.
Right, like the like mechanics of
the
that
head
make
bits.
sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in both of these books, the description is that you kneel on someone's shoulders, essentially, or past their shoulders, and like so you make an L shape rather than a 69. And that, like, putting your entire weight on someone, that seems like a thing I haven't, from a danger standpoint, explored.
No. I think put your knees on a secure ground bed sort of location. Maybe you hook your feet into their armpits. I don't know, bodies.
I don't know. So now I have to, like, I literally am going to take this as a manual and try it out. I have to.
But you also have to spread to get low enough. So unless someone has like 4 foot wide shoulders, I think, like, place your knees somewhere more secure.
Right, and I think a headboard is required. To stay. Anyways, it's so now I have to, because I was like, oh, this is a thing that's come up several times now. It sounds like a thing to try. It is not a thing I've done. I feel like I'm missing out. Now I feel like I'm missing out. Everyone else is doing it. Everyone in books is doing it.
Everyone else is doing it. Why don't I sit on someone's face?
Why don't I sit on someone's face? These are the thoughts that go through my head. So clearly this book has made me want to get naked, in case this conversation about sitting on someone's face didn't get you there. I wanted to be VV naked for this book.
Or at least pantsless.
Definitely pantsless. Yes. In our script, I wrote yes in all caps with an exclamation point, just to make an emphasis. So I give it 5 flames because
that's the maximum number of flames.
You know what? I feel like we've been very conservative with our flame ratings. A lot of books have gotten a 4, very few books have gotten a 5, if any. And I was thinking about it and trying to figure out how our rating system works here. But I feel like if there are toys, if there is like a certain amount of dirty talk, if there is really explicit how they get each other off, that is us. Like, what is going to be flamier than that, right? Like, what is going to be hotter than that? And this definitely,
so this book had those.
It has all of that. It has a lot of that. So for a novella, it has 3 fully described sex scenes and then 2 more that are implied. So there's quite a bit of time that's spent in the one bed, which we didn't talk about in terms of tropes. So there's only one bed in this one as well. Right? They had to sleep together. They are enemies to lovers in a very rapid fashion. They go to lovers very quickly. There is a gay best friend, which I don't know if that's a real trope or not, but I feel like the gay best friend features in a lot of books. It's like I have some theories on why that is a trope that exists. He's lovely. I very much like the best friend. I don't know that him being gay had anything to do with how lovely he was. But the gay best friend is the thing in here. And then, like, lovely mom. Again, not sure if that's a real trope or not, but, like, that security blanket in the back of your head that, like, no matter what you do today, there'll still be someone who will show up for you emotionally is
Nice.
that. Um,
Yeah.
yes,
So
so
Five Flames.
Five Flames.
Ha- how many
Four
stars?
stars because, and this
Okay.
again gets to my
4K.
oh so so it gets to my rating system. 5 stars are books. So originally I gave it 5 stars, and then I thought about it. 5 stars are the books in my world that are my forever, like,
Mm.
greatest books that I love, not just today, but today and a year from now and 10 years from now. So what I generally tend to do is I give books 4 stars, and if a year from today I'm still talking about it, I will go back and I will up its rating.
Huh.
Well, we
So it's
read
almost
so
like
many
this one goes
books.
to 11. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. We read so many books that if I were 5 star, I mean, also, who cares? I could 5 star all the books. But this is my system. So if you look at my Goodreads, my 5 star books are the books that I want to keep talking about forever. Now, having heard my enthusiasm about this book, I feel like it might make it into the
You're
5 star pile.
you're tipping. You're tipping into a fiver.
Right,
You're
it's
definitely
it's
tipping.
going it's going there. So I highly recommend it. It's short, it is holiday themed, it makes you want to make food that delights the senses, and it makes
It
you want to
makes it makes you want to find someone who will swipe their nose like a credit card. Just to quote Cardi B.
yes, to that,
Great,
very much
great.
so. That took way too many seconds for my brain to process. I was like,
It's a
what?
very deep cut if you don't
Oh,
listen to WAP every day like I do.
it is. Yes, yes. That took a moment, but an excellent moment it is. Yes, so
Um,
these are my two
okay,
cents on that.
I love it. So let's throw it back to you, listeners and viewers, aplenty. What do you think? Are you going to pick up Wrong Guy, Right Room by Michelle Angelle? Are you going to slide on over and pick up Mangoes and Mistletoe by Adriana Herrera? Let us know. Uh, do you have a suggestion for a book we need to review? Come to all of our places and DM them. We'll drop all those socials again at the end of this episode, which we're very close to. Just hang tight. We're almost done. Um, I mean, that sounds amazing. I'm going to read that book. The book stack is large and in charge, but I'm coming for that Mangoes and Mistletoe. Fear not. Okay, so we covered book birthdays for December 2020 last week, so we're not going to do that again. Go back and watch our episode on Sanctuary by Rebecca Weatherspoon for all those sweet book birthdays. I want to do our indie bookstore shout out. Last week, last week we talked about the Ripped Bodice in Culver City. We're again going to keep it LA, SoCal, local. And we're going to shout out Vroman's Bookstore in Pasadena. Vroman's Bookstore is the oldest bookstore in Southern California. I believe they opened in 1848. Can you imagine what those sometimes I like to think about like what bookbinding was even like and like book printing at that time. There are a couple of pictures around the store of like what the bookstore looked like. And I'm just like, look at all those hardback books. The dream is alive. Okay, so why we're talking about Romans is, firstly, they employ me. They are my seasonal job right now. I'm working in their World Call department, sending out book orders to people. I'm processing gift cards like a wild person. So obviously, they're giving me their money for my labor, so they're going to get 2 thumbs up in my book. But also, they have a cafe, and the cafe has amazing chai, so that's 2 thumbs up. It's open currently in quarantine times, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, but usually other times it's open all the time. They also have a wine bar, which I did not know about until I started working there, and I walked by and I saw it was closed. I was like, but wine and reading, how delightful. Also, it's a huge store, and they have 3 locations. So the main location is in Pasadena, It's 2 stories. It's as big as a Barnes and Noble. It's huge, which I think is great for an independent bookstore. Their second store is Hastings Ranch, which is also sort of outside Pasadena, and then they also run Book Soup in on Sunset in Hollywood. So 3 locations. They're amazing company. They have a really lovely creed about how their employees, their customers should be treated and what the customer experience should be. And it's, you just go and you get a good vibe, and you can buy puzzles, and you can buy candles, and you can buy slippers. Like anything for a book person's life, you can get there. So Vroman's in Pasadena. You can order online. You can head over to their book website and buy stuffs online. And then I will process your orders and send them to you.
There you go.
Yeah. So support local bookstores. Do all the things.
Do all the things. Local bookstores for all the things. Okay.
Now, I took you there for the first time a few weeks ago. Do you want to just slide in your thoughts really quickly, and then we'll move on to our to be read shelf?
I really wish that all of the bits and pieces of it were open, so I'm looking forward to when it is possible for me to have wine and books, because in the dream of dreams, in the land of lands where I have unlimited finance resources, I would open a library bar where you can read and drink with like leather chairs and whiskey and tall bookshelves. So the bar portion really appeals to me. I like the vibe. It was chill. There's a huge fountain pen section, which was a surprisey surprise for me, a person who loves fountain pens. So that was cool. I enjoyed that bit a bit. Currently I find myself really overwhelmed by in-person shopping because I spend so much of my time trying not to touch anything or be close enough to anyone. So this is in no way a reflection on Romans. It's a reflection on my anxiety levels during the pandemic. I liked it well enough to absolutely try it once I'm no longer worried that someone is breathing on me.
True that. Hard true that. Well, I'm glad you liked it, and we'll go back. It's very hard not to buy things there, so that will happen again. All right, so let's slide over. What's on your to be read shelf this week?
So this I have to give it a retraction from last week. So last week I said that based on Sanctuary, I'm not gonna read the rest of the Beards in Bondage series because it just I just don't want to know about the rest of the characters, and it just wasn't a thing that I was gonna do. Someone else in our lives read the 3rd book in the series and was like, you have to absolutely read this because it changes everything. It's a completely different story. And I actually started it last night. I'm 40% in, which tells you how much I like it, because I got through 40% of a book before like just falling asleep with the book on my face at 2 a.m, which, you know, is a thing that you do when you're really, really into a book. They were right. It is so good. I have so many thoughts. We're absolutely talking about it at some point. Rebecca Weatherspoon is blowing my mind. I am so glad that I gave it a chance. I am 110% in agreement that this one is so different and makes up for all of, like, it sort of ticks all of the boxes that were so bothersome for me in Sanctuary. Harbor makes it better. So that's it. So it's not even to be read. It is currently reading and currently loving.
Great. I'm currently this much into How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. It's been slow going because you and I exchanged puzzles recently, and I've been puzzling instead of reading, and also, you know, jobbing it at the same time. So I'm very excited to continue to push into this book this week and talk about it as well. So you're doing Harbor. Anything else? Anything else on the horizon? Book horizon for you?
I also started The Boyfriend Project. Partially because it's our book club book this week, but
I'm not gonna read it.
That's okay. It's a
Even
laid
though
back book
I
club.
was the one, even though I was the one that says, I wish we could all read the same book again, I'm not reading this one.
So I started it and then I put it down just because my curiosity about Harbor would not be abated. And so I will
Mhm.
go back to it. The bits of it that I've read, I'm about 15% into that, were very good. So also a book that you might hear, well, you'll definitely hear about it in book club because we're going to talk about
Great,
it. But yes, so
for
that's
sure.
the other one is The Boyfriend Project.
Cool. Let's see. I have picked up more books this week. How dare I work in a bookstore and not? So I got this one, Love is Letting Go of Fear by Gerald Jampolsky. Just to, do a little mental tune-up, little quarantine mental tune-up. It's got cartoons in it, so I'm not really worried about the lack of levity in the book. And then someone, Sky, picked up this book for me for Christmas, Write Naked, a bestseller, Secrets to Writing Romance and Navigating the Path to Success by Jennifer Probst. So I got some nonfiction on my shelf. I doubt I will get to those both this week, but I'm going to try. I'm sure going to try.
That sounds amazing.
So, yeah, so that's my bookshelf. That's my bookshelf. I think that's any final last words? Anything
No,
else?
I think I'm good. I think
Time to GTFO.
yes, please.
All right. All right. So, if you liked this Adventures in Books and would like any updates on our upcoming projects, follow us on Instagram at l.skyford, on Twitch at lskyford, no dot, on Twitter at skyfordl, no dot. And also head over to our website, lskyford.com. I'm Ford.
I'm Sky. And don't
And
bother me. I'm reading.
don't bother her. She's reading. This was Booklandia. Have a good one. All right, Mark, we are out. Runtime was 1 hour, 21 minutes, 16 seconds. Booyah.